What is the history of America? The revisionists have tried to take it away from us. On July the 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed. And remember that it was a declaration of independence from earthly powers, despotic powers, but it was also a declaration of dependence upon Almighty God. Remember how that declaration began? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are endowed by their Creator. Underscore that, by their Creator. They believed in creation. You can't even teach creation in public schools today. Endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Right off to begin with, we want our Constitution to be written in the light of this declaration. And notice how the Declaration of Independence closes. Sometimes we don't get to the close of it, but it says, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. What is divine providence? That's just a synonym for Almighty God. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor. It was a declaration of independence from Great Britain. It was a declaration of dependence upon Almighty God. Now, in 1778, James Madison, who is the architect of our federal Constitution, the fourth president, said this: "We have staked the whole future of American civilization, not upon the power of government, far from it. We have staked the future upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves, to sustain ourselves according to the 10 commandments of God." That's the architect of the Constitution who said that. Now you can't even post the 10 commandments in classroom walls. On April the 30th, George Washington, in his inaugural address, said this, quote, "My fervent supplications to that Almighty Being who rules over the universe, who presides in the council of nations, and whose providential aids can supply every human defect, that His benediction, that means His blessing, may consecrate to the liberties and happiness of the people of the United States a government instituted by themselves for these essential purposes." What he's saying is, look, we can't do it without God. And then he went on to say, we ought to be no less persuaded that the propitious smile of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal rules of order and right which heaven itself has ordained. George Washington said, without God, it won't be done. In December 1820, Daniel Webster said, and I quote, "Let us not forget the religious character of our origin. Our fathers brought hither their veneration for the Christian religion. They journeyed by its light, labored in its hope. They sought to incorporate and to infuse its influence through all their institutions, civil, political, and literary." They never thought of saying that we don't want God in our government. We don't want God in our education, not according to Daniel Webster. On July the 4th, 1821, John Quincy Adams said, "The highest glory of this American Revolution was this: it connected in one indissoluble bond the principles of civil government with the principle of Christianity." Now, the revisionists of history don't want you to hear that. Our children are not being taught that in the public schools. Dads, you are to be teachers of history. On July the 8th, 1845, President Andrew Jackson said, "The Bible is the rock upon which our republic rests." That's what he said. And early Americans knew this. March 1931, the United States Congress adopted the Star-Spangled Banner as our national anthem. You know what the fourth stanza says: "Praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just, and this be our motto." You finish it. "In God is our trust." That, friend, is our national anthem. In 1952, the Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas said, "We are a religious people, and our institutions presuppose a supreme being. That is built in. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Therefore, in June 1954, Congress adopted the phrase, "under God," to be added to the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then in July 1956, by joint resolution, Congress adopted the bill providing that the national motto of the United States is, "In God we trust." In our national hymn, the anthem says, "Bless with victory and peace. May the heaven-rescued land praise the power that has made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just. And this be our motto, in God is our trust." And the national hymn, "Our Father's God, to Thee, author of liberty, to Thee we sing. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by Thy might." Listen to this. "Great God, our King." Never say America doesn't have a king. We have a president we can vote in and out, but we have a king we can't vote in and can't vote out. Now, we can deny him and turn our back on him if we are foolish enough to do this. Our fathers rightly believed, rightly understood in the separation of church and state, that is, to have no national denomination, but they never believed in the separation of God and government. To the contrary. No nation, I say, ever had such a beginning as the United States of America. You remember that Virginian, Patrick Henry? Patrick Henry was the one who in the Virginia Assembly gave a speech, the wonderful speech that was the spark that united the revolution. This is what he said. He was talking about slavery. And in 1775, Patrick Henry said, "Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God." And then he said, "I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty, give me death." That was the spark of the revolution. The Revolutionary War was won, and we too came from chains and tyranny to be a freeborn people. And the first president of the United States, we called him the father of our country, George Washington, took his oath of office by putting his hand on the Holy Bible. And after George Washington took his oath of office with his hand on the Holy Bible, he kissed the Bible. I wonder what the ACLU would say about that. Oh, by the way, do you know the first thing he did, his first official act? Do you know what the first official act of the first president was? He took the entire Congress, the Senate and the House, to church, every one of them. For 2 hours, they went to church and worshiped. That was the first official act of government. You know, people always talk about the First Amendment. They need to understand what the First Amendment says. Listen to it again. "Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion." That is, we're going to have no national religion, no government-sponsored church. But the other side says, "nor the free exercise thereof." You need to remember this. When the first United States Congress was passing the First Amendment and the Bill of Rights, at the same time they also passed the Northwest Ordinance. Historians have told us that the four most important documents in our national history are these: the Northwest Ordinance, the Articles of Confederation, the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution. Do you know what the Northwest Ordinance said? Now, I want you to understand how the framers must have looked on the First Amendment. Here's what the Northwest Ordinance said, among other things: religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government, and the happiness of mankind, schools and means of education shall forever be encouraged. Why shall we have schools? Why shall we have means of education? Because religion, morality, and knowledge are necessary to good government. These are the same ones who wrote the First Amendment.